Most men believe that if a woman wants them, she will say so, that she will make it obvious, that somewhere in the conversation there will be a clear signal, and all he has to do is wait for it to arrive. The problem is that clarity does not work that way, not between adults, not between people who have already been hurt once. Interest almost never arrives as an announcement. It arrives as a pattern, small, repeated, easy to walk past if you are waiting for something louder. And when a man misses it, he rarely thinks, I misread that moment. He thinks something worse. He decides he has aged out of being noticed at all. Not because he lacks confidence, not because he is unattractive, and certainly not because he is too old. He misses it because nobody ever taught him what wanting looks like when it is quiet. By the end of this, you will be able to notice 6 things. 6 ordinary moments that happen in kitchens, in parking lots, in the 10 seconds before someone puts their coat on. Not tricks, not tests, just the places where real interest actually lives. You were never invisible. You were unread. Here is why the old rules stopped working. At 22, interest was loud because the stakes were low. Someone could flirt across a room and lose nothing if it went nowhere. There was no history to protect, no exhausted heart to guard. That is not the situation anymore. The people around you now have been through things. A divorce, maybe, a long marriage that ended in silence, years of being the one who tried hardest. So interest goes underground. It gets smaller and more careful. It stops looking like pursuit and starts looking like access. She stops trying to impress you and starts quietly letting you closer. That is the whole thesis, and it is worth holding on to. Wanting is quiet. It shows up small, which means the signals are not hidden from you. They are just below the volume you were trained to listen for. Let us start with the one that hides in plain conversation. The first sign is that she asks about your time. So what does your week look like? Or are you around this weekend at all? It comes out casually, usually while she is doing something else with her hands. On the surface, it sounds like nothing. It sounds like the kind of question people ask to keep a conversation from dying. It sounds like weather talk with a calendar attached. But watch what is really happening. Nobody asks about a schedule they do not want to enter. Time is the one thing that cannot be replaced, and adults guard it carefully. When she asks where your hours go, she is checking whether there is a door. She is not gathering information. She is building an opening and waiting to see whether you notice it. Here is where many men go wrong. Some answer the question literally, listing out Tuesday and Wednesday like a man reading a receipt. Others get cautious because caution feels like dignity. So they say, pretty busy, and let the door swing shut. And some assume she is only being polite, so they answer and never ask back, and then wonder later why nothing happened. The stronger response does something simple. It answers, then it opens. You can say, Thursday's actually free. Are you asking because you had something in mind? Or, my week's flexible. What are you thinking? That second question is the whole move. It does not accuse her of anything. It just holds the door open and lets her decide. Picture a man in a community garden on a Saturday morning. He is filling a watering can. A woman he has spoken to twice asks what he does with his weekends now. He says, not much, same as always. There is a pause. She says, that's nice, and goes back to her tomatoes. Nothing bad happened there. That is what makes it so easy to miss. But the next sign is harder to dismiss because it requires something from her that small talk never does. The second sign is that she keeps the details that did not matter. You mentioned your brother's name once. You said you hate driving at night. Weeks later, she brings it back. Did your brother end up taking that job? On the surface, that just looks like a good memory. Some people are simply better at remembering things than others. It reads as a personality trait, not a message. But memory is not neutral. We do not store everything. We store what our attention was already leaning toward. When somebody returns a detail you barely remember giving them, it means that in a room full of things to focus on, they were focused on you. And there is a second layer underneath it. She did not just remember it. She chose to bring it up, which means she wanted you to know she remembered. Many men fumble this exact moment. Some are so surprised that they laugh it off with, "Wow, you've got a better memory than I do." Others correct the detail instead of receiving it, turning a gift into a footnote. And some feel a flicker of warmth, say nothing at all, and change the subject, because being cared about is unfamiliar territory. You do not need a clever line here. You need to name what happened. "I can't believe you remembered that." Then, quieter, "That means something to me." Or you can return the favor on the spot. "You told me you were nervous about that appointment. How did it go?" Matching memory with memory is one of the strongest things you can do. Picture a man at a hardware store, running into a neighbor by the paint samples. She asks whether his knee held up on the hike he mentioned in April. He stops for a second. He honestly forgot he told her. He says, "You remembered that." She shrugs. "You seemed excited about it." That is not politeness. Politeness does not carry things for 4 months. And the third sign is even easier to overlook because it happens without a single word being spoken. The third sign is where her body points when other people are talking. You are in a group, 4 or 5 people, somebody else holding the floor, and her shoulders, her feet, the angle of her chair, all of it is turned slightly toward you. On the surface, this is just how people stand. Furniture is arranged a certain way. Rooms are small. It seems like an accident of geometry. But orientation is not random. In any group, people angle themselves toward whoever they feel safest with. It happens below thinking, which is exactly why it is honest. And watch what happens when someone tells a joke. Notice who she looks at first. People check the reaction of the person whose opinion matters most to them. If her eyes find you before they find the person who spoke, you have your answer. This is where a lot of men talk themselves out of the truth. Some decide they imagined it because that is safer than hoping. Others notice it and immediately perform, getting louder to earn the attention they already had. And some retreat entirely, stepping back from the group, and she reads that as disinterest. The response here is not a line, it is a decision. Stay where you are and give the attention back. When the group breaks apart, turn to her and say, "I liked your take on that." Or simply, "Stay a minute, I want to hear the rest of what you were saying." That single sentence tells her the signal was received. Picture a man at a church potluck, 8 people around a folding table. Someone tells a long story about a fishing trip, and every time the story turns funny, she glances at him. Just for a second, every time. He never says a word about it. He just holds her eyes on the third glance and lets a small smile happen. She stops looking away. Before we go on, if any of this is landing, take a second to subscribe. These conversations are not always comfortable, but they save people years. Because the next 3 signs are the ones that carry real risk for her. The fourth sign is that she lets the silence sit. There is a lull, 10 seconds, maybe 15, and she does not rush to fill it. She just stays there with you, comfortable. On the surface, this looks like nothing at all. In fact, it looks like the absence of something. Most people would call it an awkward moment and move on. But think about who we rush around. We fill silences with people we are trying to impress and with people we cannot wait to leave. Nervousness talks. Boredom talks. Ease is the only thing that can be quiet. When she lets a pause stretch and does not look at her phone, she is telling you she does not need the conversation to keep working because she is not there for the conversation. This is where good men accidentally undo it. Some panic and fill the gap with a question they do not care about. Others take the silence personally and decide they are boring her, so they start trying harder. And some announce the discomfort out loud, saying, "Well, anyway," which ends the moment on purpose. The strongest thing you can do is almost nothing. Stay in it. Then, when you do speak, speak to the silence itself. "This is nice. I don't have to fill every gap with you." Or, "I like that we can just sit here." Naming ease is one of the rarest things a man can do, and people remember it for years. Picture a man in a car outside a restaurant. Dinner is over, the engine is off. Neither of them has reached for the door handle, and the quiet has gone on long past the point of politeness. He says, "I'm not in a hurry." She says, "Me neither." Nothing else needs to happen for that to be the most important thing said all night. But the fifth sign costs her more than any of these because it hands you something she cannot take back. The fifth sign is that she tells you something unflattering about herself. She mentions that she is terrible with money, that she cried in a parking lot last week, that her family stopped speaking to her for 2 years and it was partly her fault. On the surface, this looks like oversharing. It can even feel like a burden, like she picked the wrong moment to be heavy. But nobody hands over their worst material to someone they are auditioning for. Attraction at the beginning makes people polish themselves. So when the polishing stops, something has changed. She has decided she would rather be known than admired. That is not a small trade. She is testing nothing and risking everything, because if you flinch, she has to carry that flinch home with her. Most men mishandle this in one of 3 ways. Some rush to fix it, offering advice she did not ask for. Others try to balance the scales too fast, jumping in with their own bigger story so she barely finishes hers. And some go quiet, not out of judgment, but out of respect. And she reads that silence as a door closing. What she needs is proof that nothing moved. You can say, "Thank you for telling me that. It doesn't change anything." Or, "That sounds like it was a hard couple of years. I'm glad you told me." Then stay in the conversation. Do not change the subject for at least a minute. That minute is the entire message. Picture a man on a back porch in the late evening. A woman he has known for a month tells him she was not a good partner in her first marriage. She says it looking at the yard, not at him. He does not rush. He says, "That took something to say." She finally looks over. Being accepted is rarer than being wanted, and she just found out which one she is dealing with. And the sign ranked number 1 is the one men are most likely to explain away. The 6th sign is that she carries the plan forward. You mention something in passing, a concert, a diner, a place you have always meant to visit. And a few days later, she is the one who brings it back. "Did you look up that place yet? We should go." On the surface, this is just logistics. It sounds like a friendly person being organized, the way someone might coordinate a work lunch. But initiative is the most expensive signal there is. Anyone can enjoy an evening. Very few will risk suggesting the next one, because suggesting it means being the one who wanted it more. She is spending the thing most adults protect hardest, which is the possibility of being turned down. She is not waiting to be chosen anymore. She is choosing. Here is where men lose it at the finish line. Some hedge, saying, "Yeah, sometime," which is a soft no wearing a yes. Others accept, but let the plan stay vague, and vague plans die quietly. And some assume that because she initiated, she will handle all of it, so they contribute nothing, and the effort silently becomes one-sided. Give her something firm to hold. Yes, are you free next Saturday, or does a weeknight work better? Or, "I'd like that. I'll find out the hours and text you tonight." A date and a follow-through are worth more than any compliment you could give her. Picture a man at a kitchen counter, phone in hand, reading a message about a farmer's market 40 minutes away. His first instinct is to write back, "Sounds fun sometime." He deletes it. He writes, "Saturday, I'll drive." She replies in under a minute. Now step back and look at all 6 together, because they are not 6 different things. The calendar question. The remembered detail. The angle of her shoulders. The silence she did not fill. The story she should not have told you. The plan she carried. Every one of them is the same act wearing different clothes. In each case, she is spending something she does not have to spend. Time, attention, comfort, memory, pride, the safety of not being rejected. That is the whole framework, and once you have it, you cannot unsee it. Interest is not a feeling she reports to you. It is a resource she quietly transfers to you. Which is why the loud signals never meant much. Compliments are cheap. Attention in a crowded room is cheap. The expensive things are small and easy to miss, and that is not an accident. Small is how careful people move. The words change. The deeper purpose rarely does. And it explains the ache underneath all of this. A man who has stopped being noticed usually has not stopped being noticed at all. He has just been watching the wrong channel, waiting for an announcement, while somebody spent an entire month handing him quiet, expensive things. Wanting is quiet. It shows up small. So here is the simple version. When someone wants you, they do not tell you. They give you access. They give you their hours, their memory, their unpolished self, and their willingness to go first. You can notice that now. You can walk into a room this week and see who angles toward you. You can hear a question about your Saturday and recognize it as a door instead of small talk. You can sit in a silence and understand that the silence is the compliment. And there is something worth saying plainly because nobody says it enough. The men who do best in this stage of life are not the wealthiest ones. They are not the tallest or the most handsome or the ones with the best stories. They are the ones who pay attention. That skill does not decline with age. It improves if you let it. If this was useful, subscribe and turn on notifications so the next one finds you. You were never invisible. You were just reading a language nobody taught you. Now you know it. One question before you go. Is it easier to tell when someone is interested now than it was at 25, or harder? Tell me below. And type "watched till the end" so I know who stayed.